So it's in 1991, one album didn't change music. It stole the spotlight from every punk band on the planet for a while. Nevada's Nevermind sold over 30 million copies. While the whole world was obsessing about grunge, real punk bands were dropping from labels, losing venues, and watching the scene overnight. And no one talks about it. So if you're new to the genre, I cover Here's the Situation. I got to cover you. Here's the situation. Punk rock in the late 80s was building real momentum. Bad Religion dropped Suffer in 88. And this is the whole scene. You had Black Flag and the Kennedys in Mind the Threat. All these bands building massive underground influence in DIY, frantic labels, and honestly, it was raw and going down. It was growing, actually. Sorry, oh my god, I keep messing up. But 1991 hits, and before the Great Punk Revolution, with Green Day's Dookie, and Offspring Smash, and of course, we can't talk about Punk Drublick, and I think Out Come the Wolves came out. I actually don't remember. Before all that, there everything changed because Nevada released Nevermind, and this was absolutely new. Like 30 million people, it knocked Michael Jackson off the number one spot on the Billboard, and that's impressive. That's how big, and it was honestly a major AEP rep. America is looking like the next Nevada. Not every next punk band, the next Nevada. Direction got strong. And hey, before I talk about this, and before I make fun, I don't like to make fun of this. I actually kind of like the album. Nevermind. I listen to it sometimes. It's a good album personally, but let's get into it. And the story starts in Washington. Kurt Cobain and Chris, I can't say his last name, the messing around together, playing weird little couple hour outside. Sailing, Kurt was a punk kid. He loved the Melvins and Black Flag. He was deep in the scene, and so it was like nowhere. He was one of us. But here's the thing, guys. Kurt had this thing where he wanted to write pop songs with punk energy. He legit said he wanted to sound like the Bay City Rollers meets Black Flag. I don't know. I know Black Flag, but I don't know what the Bay City Rollers are. And that's a combine. And of course, no one was doing that. They sound stupid. That's a secret sauce. They released Bleach 1998. It was gritty, it was raw. It sold 4,000. What's up, punk? Cool. Respect. To DGC labels. That's a major label. And they got Butch Vinyl and Nevermind changed everything. Dropped in September 24th, Smells Like Teen Spirit was a single every hour of MVTD. That's why they got MTV get off the air. And I legit had to fact check this. It hit number one in the Billion 2000 in January 1992 and knocked Michael Jackson's Danger on the top spot. And I'm against Michael Jackson, personally. I don't like his music. I don't understand why he was so big. He was a weird guy, personally. My question is, why was Michael Jackson the guy who grabbed his testicles? Why was he the number one spot guy? I don't know, but getting back on topic here. He influenced in Alabama, Washington, and outsold Michael Jackson. That's insane. That's good. Because we want more punk bands and more good music to actually take the number one spot. I understand like Taylor Swift and stuff. But here's where the story turns. But while Nevada was exploding, punk was going down. And I think people realized how bad it was. Major label was on a mindset of Nevada, punk adjustment, selling 30 million copies. And then there was some albums that released during this time that were actually really good. Like, there was like around, there's like, I think 2 albums that were actually kind of good. NOFX Ribbon. It wasn't huge, but it was actually kind of good. And then probably one of my personal favorites, the original Pennywise album, one of the big four punk bands. And this year, it also released Broham, one of the punk rock anthem. If you disagree with me, that's like if punk rock was like a country, that would be like the national anthem. Look at this. The first ever Pennywise album, released in 1991, and started one of the best journeys of all time. It has some bangers in it, but it also had Screeching Weezers, My Brain Hurts, and Green Day's Kerplunk. But every label wanted that. But you think about it, we had bands like NOFX, bands like Pennywise, Bad Religion. These bands were building something real, and Epitaph was becoming a legitimate force. But Nevermind dropped in nerdy, but not for long. So, piloted. Punk was pretty cool. Grunge was punk lots random. Let's go back in the video, but it got worse. Major labels were ignoring punk bands and approaching them changing. Green Day had to reprise records. The Offspring left Epitaph for Columbia. Disappointing. There was a huge civil war in the punk versus sellout punk. And in my opinion, real punk and sellout punk, this was the biggest. I'm really disappointed for anyone who calls. I'm gonna actually, I might make a video about this generally, because this is the biggest bullshit ever. People saying that punk is just the same, like saying Green Day sellouts, Offspring are sellouts, signed to major labels. If you change your music to fit with the mainstream, then you're a sellout. Okay, I can agree with that. But if don't change your music, you say the same sound, you sound the exact same, you're not a sellout. You're trying to get this genre bigger so you can get your favorite band bigger. And see here, people who are like that are just generally bad people who don't want their. I don't understand. Yeah, I've seen some, but you're just. I don't understand the point, though, of doing that. Okay, I can understand. Like, yeah, you don't want your favorite band turning to sell out, like, changing their music, but I feel like that doesn't help at all. Okay? And honestly, dividing started, but what Nevada did, just had the major labels help. But before we get into that ironic part, but this is real thing about Maddie. Kurt wanted half of the band calling Sellout and homemade. MVT wanted calling it homophobic and racist. He refused to start playing corporate games, and he was the biggest rock star on the planet. And he was a long form, but because he wasn't funny, that's punk. That's more what in 7-inch vinyl, inch record, and bands were kind about it, but punk purists didn't care. To Nevada's energy made them mainstream, and mainstream pays attention, ruins everything. Punk's momentum, but and this is what happened in 1991. So here's what happened. Punk didn't die. That the thing that actually did it then just went back. The back one for a minute. In 1994, Green Day dropped Dookie, Smash. We got Offspring top Smash. Then of course we had Punk Public, and then it went all back. And this is the real story. Nevermind didn't kill punk. It focused on evolving. For some bands went pop punk, some went hardcore, some stayed underground and louder. But all the shadows and Nevermind, because that album label and the next Nevada, no one wants to do that. I'm not gonna lie. It kind of sucked that punk lost momentum for a bit, but because of the late 80s scene, that's something special. And I personally enjoy that album. I said at the beginning, I personally like Nevada's Nevermind. So, yeah. Nevada's Nevermind didn't just change music, it reshaped an entire punk landscape. Bands got famous off of it. Some bands forgot it just because. And the scene wouldn't really go back before, but Nevada is the best thing that happened to punk, or wasn't one of the worst. I want to hear y'all's opinion. Thank you for watching this. It's been my pleasure. Please like and subscribe. I'm broke. I got no money. I want to get 100 subs by the end of the year. So hey, if you want to help me, you can. I don't really care. I just like making videos for you all. Thank you. Goodbye. See you next time. Maybe. Maybe not. You never